Yes. Were you in the middle of a joke, Pete?
Oh, I don't have any jokes anymore.
That's okay. Just the
Like
last line will
my
do.
joke books away.
All right.
And Matt stopped supplying them to me.
You know what? I'll get out my big book of knock knock jokes.
No, he's always supplying those on his Facebook.
Oh, I guess I
All
just
right.
stopped.
I got one. What do you call a ghost who cuts your hair while you're asleep?
I go,
A beautician.
I
Oh,
like that.
fuck's
Did,
sake.
did you see that thing that went around the internet just a couple weeks ago that the reason ghosts say boo is
It's,
because it's a Latin verb.
yes.
Boo is like, I am alarming. I'm alarming, scaring you. So instead, they're just saying boo. They're saying, I'm scaring you. It's actually
Wow.
a
is
Latin
this true?
verb. Yes,
It's
it's
very
true.
on the nose. That's amazing.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. I did not know that was where it came from. That's awesome.
Well,
Me either, but
this is a professional horror cast
Oh, I can
podcast,
tell.
Brian, and that's how that you get information like this.
That's how we roll. We
That's
make
how we roll.
get your finger out of your nose. Jeez.
Yeah. Um, yeah, anyway, so welcome back everyone to the Lovecraft eZine podcast. Um, yeah, Kim says we're practically PBS now. So yeah. Yeah, Kim, I noticed you weren't on last week. As a result, my week was terrible. So I mean, but don't feel bad about it. It's
Kim
okay.
is essential. She
Yeah.
like comes to every movie night and makes the best comments.
Hmm. Well, let's do our usual quick introductions, and then we'll talk to Brian Asman for a bit, and then we'll let him go if he wants, and we'll talk to Dave Urban for a bit. So I'm Mike Davis. If you've never seen one of these before, host of the podcast. And Matt, you have a prize.
Yes, I've got a prize. Okay.
Surprise.
This is a series of graphic novels called Reanimator Incorporated. It's a riff on the old Herbert West stuff. It is almost more like a cross between Frankenstein and Reanimator.
Pete, do you have a
Kinda.
copy of this?
I do.
That's what I thought.
All right. So this is the first volume. There have been 3 published so far. I have an extra. The prize is Reanimators Incorporated. This is a hardcover. It's signed by the creators. You can see the art is
Oh,
very attractive. The story is interesting. Send an email to ezineprizes@gmail.com. Put Reanimator in the subject line. We'll draw a winner in 6 to 8 weeks. You got plenty of time to get an entry in. Who knows? You could win this book.
can we put Reanimatrix in the subject title instead of Reanimator?
Yeah, if you don't want to win the book, sure.
Oh, all right. What if we say Reanimatrix, but we included 20
Well, then you win the
in
book.
the email?
Some guy actually did like copy a $20 and sent me an email.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, because Brian and Dave, Matt's always saying that. Let's Matt, after we talk to Brian, then tell us about movie night before we talk to Dave.
Sure.
We'll do it that way. Alan
Alan Hughes, teacher, artist, and world traveler.
and Santa.
No, that is true. Alan is now a world traveler. He went to
That's
Ireland.
true.
Santa Pete. Um, I make sure that kids don't get any presents on Christmas. And
Also write books.
I also write
too.
some books,
Yeah.
Do some fishing,
Yeah.
cry at my desk, things like that. Bleed on the page.
Yeah, I've heard that phrase.
Yeah. Been a long time since you heard that phrase.
Too long. Joe Porter. I'm sorry. D. Matthew Urban is the author of Shaking Pictures of Vanished Faces. Hey, Dave, we're going to talk to Dave in a little bit. And he wanted to be here at the beginning, though. So good to see you, man. So
Hey, good to see you.
And so our first guest today is Brian Asman. Hey, man, thanks for sorry about the disorganization, but glad to see you.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me on. Very happy to be here.
Um, could you, for those who out there who don't know who you are, could you tell the audience a bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So I am a primarily a horror author, although I kind of write in a number of different genres. I'm best known as the author of Man, Fuck This House, which was just re-released in this brand new edition, which includes a revised and expanded version of the original narrative. Also, 6 short stories. The main narrative is actually in development as a TV series right now, and a couple of the other
Really?
stories have been
Nice.
optioned as well. So again, you want to grab this right now so you can like tell all your friends in like a year or two, when all the film stuff comes to fruition, hopefully, that you were in on the ground floor. And I'm also the author of Good Dogs, also from Blackstone, as well as Our Black Hearts Beat as One, Revenge of the Living Elves, or Return of the Living Elves, and a number of other novellas.
Yeah, did you know that even a man who is pure of heart and says his prayers by night, you've heard that one from the
Yes, of
werewolf
course.
movie, right? I did want to ask you because you know, a a viral sensation on this and everything. But I missed all that. It's easy to do. There's so many books out there, even in the horror genre, and your publicist people and everything. They sent me this when they sent me the art, of course, information on the book,
Mhm.
and I'm like viral sensation. How did I miss this? Um, but I wonder if you'd start off by talking about that. And I did want to talk for just a minute about Good Dogs too, because
Sure. I love
that
talking Good
is,
Dogs.
yeah. Well, let's just start there then, real quick.
Yeah, totally.
The I was reading another interview that you gave online sometime in the recent past. You were talking about the idea for Good Dogs, that it kind of gelled, that all of the victims would be werewolves. Could you take it from there and talk about the book and how?
Yeah, definitely. So, what Mike is referring to for the audience is that Good Dogs is about a group of werewolves who go off to the woods to wolf out in peace, and then a killer begins picking them off one by one. So, it's essentially The Howling meets Friday the 13th. That's my elevator pitch for it, basically. And I love slasher movies. I like a lot of horror fans. And I love monster movies, and I thought it'd be fun to put the two together in a way that I haven't quite seen before, doing a traditional slasher build, but having the victims themselves be monsters. I thought that'd be really fun to write, and I was right. It was super fun to write, and hopefully it's fun to read. A lot of people seem to think so. Judge for yourself.
I was thinking when I read that, that have I seen this? Have I read this before? Have I seen anything like this before? And I can't think of anything, movie or book, where there's a lot of werewolf stories out there. Obviously, we know
Yeah.
that, but where the victims are all werewolves. And so I'm looking forward to reading this. But I wanted to
Thank you.
ask you about it, and I wanted to point it out to the audience too. There's probably people out there who have read it, and but for those of you who have not, it's a really neat concept.
Thank you. Yeah, when I hit on that idea, I was like, oh, this is kind of like a chocolate peanut butter idea.
Yeah,
Where it's like chocolate exists, peanut butter exists, but God, whoever thought to put them together for the very first time was a
right.
freaking genius. And that's kind of how I thought. I was like, man, I also, and I've seen a lot of horror movies, and I was like, I've never quite seen anything like this before either, you know? So I thought I'd give it a swing, and luckily Blackstone thought it was a great take, and put it out last year, and it's been finding its audience. It's been really exciting.
That's great. Um, so yeah, oh, yeah, let's talk about Man, Fuck This House.
Yes.
The uh, like I said, I was reading the information on it before I read the book, and so talk about the journey of this book. And it was a quote unquote viral sensation. This was back in 21, right? 2021.
Yeah, yeah. October 2021 was when it first came out.
Okay.
So during that time, I was self-publishing novellas. It's kind of odd how that happened. So I'm probably one of the only people in the history of the world whose agent told them to self-publish. But going into 2020, right, we were shopping a novel around, and traditional publishers shut down to agented queries for the first time in history, basically. And
Yeah.
so my agent and I were chatting, and I'm like, I hate the idea of sitting around. Granted, you can always write the next book, always write the next book. But I was like, I'm trying to build my platform as a writer, but I don't have a lot of stuff out there. So it's kind of difficult. She's like, well, you did that one novella with an indie press. What if you do a couple more yourself? I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, just, go for it. So I decided I was going to do a couple novellas in different subgenres basically. So I did like a sci-fi horror one. I did one that was like kind of a crazy action comedy, and then I did Man Fuck This House. And when the book came out in October 21, and it was popular, but a couple months later it was discovered. Essentially, there's a
Yeah.
screenwriter, Molly Hodgson, who wrote
Yeah.
Star Wars Rogue One and Jurassic World. She tweeted about it, and just from there it kind of took off. Like people screen capped her tweet, and it got shared to all these different groups, just all over the place. I remember seeing one TikTok video that got 120,000 likes. That was like this guy just had it like his camera on like his desk or something, and he's like starts to giggle, and pans up and reveals like my book, and then by that point he's just like laughing his ass off, right?
That's
And so there
brilliant,
are all
though.
these moments where it went, kind of went viral in different ways, essentially, and you know it's awesome that happened. That doesn't always translate to sales. In this case, it did, which was pretty cool. So everything just started kind of blowing up over, I think it was like the last week in March of 2022. And
Yeah.
then at that time, I was getting a lot of film interest. I was having producers cold message me. And so I talked to my agent and I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Right. Some of these people seem to have worked on projects I've heard of, but like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, well, I have a friend who represents books to film. And he also works for Blackstone now. And so we met with him and he decided to represent the book. He also bought Good Dogs and bought Man, Fuck This House with the idea that we republish it, similar to what Eric LaRocca did with Things Have Gone Worse Since Last We Spoke, when
Yeah.
he sold that book to Titan and they put it out with 2 additional novellas. The idea is we'd essentially do the same thing with this book.
Well, I mean, yeah, social media doesn't always convert to sales, but it's a numbers game. So if you're getting those kinds of views on TikTok, then there's going to be a lot of sales,
Yes, it
that
worked out
happen.
well.
Yeah.
Worked out really well.
Alan, I know you've read this too, and I know you've got some questions
Oh, nice.
before I continue. So
Yeah. Oh, I was going to comment, the title had to, drive a lot of that, but if there wasn't a story behind it to back it up, it wouldn't have caught on like it would have.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, well,
Thank you.
just to say, get in there real quick. I saw a lot of TikTok videos that were like, yeah, I had to pick it up because of the title, and then I really liked the book after that. So yeah, Alan, you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. There's a book that I really like, nonfiction book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and it's the same thing. You notice it because of the title, but it's such a great book. I want to get into it now, but yeah. So
Yeah, there's this one airport bookstore that had like display of books with the word fuck in the title. So like they had Solar of Not Giving a Fuck, Go the Fuck to Sleep in my book. And like I
right,
think there were one or two others that were all just kind of in this display together. It was amazing.
yeah, yes, Scott. I'm working with a pet detective. Luckily, it does not cost anything. So anyway, Alan.
Yeah, was that title? I mean, I saw where it came from in the book, but where did you start with the title, or did it just you say that this is what this story is?
Oh, I love that question. Yeah, so I actually did start with the title. It started as a Twitter joke. I was like, what would make a really good title for a haunted house book? Man, fuck this house. And then a number of people were like, that's actually really funny. You should go write that. And so I said, okay, I got to give the people what they want, so I'm going to go write it.
What would have been bad is if on Twitter another writer said, you know what, that is a good title. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
Got it out
Yeah,
first.
I generally don't worry about that kind of thing, but in retrospect, there are just certain titles that, maybe I should worry a little bit more with my next one that's coming out. We're actually keeping the title a secret for that reason. So,
Yeah.
and also kind of more of now that there's a lot more like AI generated ripoff stuff going on,
Oh God, yeah.
That's why my editor wants to keep it under wraps for right now, at least until we pitch it to a couple studios first and see what happens.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I'll go on. I'm sorry.
Okay. Just, what's the pitch behind this? What's the basic outline of the story?
So it's a haunted house book. So a family moves to a new house and spooky things happen. In this case, though, it's a bit of a satire of those common haunted house tropes. What I wanted to do was satirize some common horror tropes, while at the same time, hopefully delivering like a compelling horror story. And whether I hit that mark or not, that's up to the reader to decide. But I was definitely inspired by things like Poltergeist. The book is dedicated to Shirley Jackson and Toby Hooper, for example. And so those were all, it was just kind of a synthesis of all these different haunted house things I've read or experienced. And the other thing was like when I was writing Damien, the kid, the son, 10-year-old son, there in horror, I was kind of inspired by the fact that in horror, a lot of the time in horror books, kids like when someone writes from a kid's perspective, it often sounds like an adult writing from a kid's perspective. And
Yeah.
you have the creepy kid, the super genius kid, stuff like that. And I just wanted to kind of mess around with those tropes a little bit, especially with that character.
Well, I'm a teacher and I'm with kids all day, and I'll give you credit. You did capture a lot young language pretty
Oh, fantastic. Thank
pretty
you.
good. Yeah.
Excellent. I hope you just didn't identify too much with the teacher in the book.
I am a history teacher. So yeah, he was a jerk, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm sure you're a better teacher than him. I'm sure that you know that Zack Snyder's movies are not actual history. So.
Wait, what?
the 300
They're not?
the history teachers yeah.
Oh, I was thinking of Batman v Superman, actually. So
Yeah. Yeah, that was also not actual history, believe it or not.
yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going the family. It's again, it seems like a very typical middle class family, but with just in a few pages, you're dropping all kinds of neat little hints that they've got some flaws going on.
Yeah, that's what drew me to as I was writing the story, I guess what really excited me about it was the emotional angle, the relationships between the characters. And that was largely inspired actually by there was a book in the early 2000s. It was a coffee table book called Post Secret, where people could write in and just tell the editors their secrets. And I remember leafing through the book once and I saw one
Oh,
secret
yeah,
that
I
always
remember that.
stuck with me. And it was, I love one of my children.
Wow.
And so that really was the inspiration for the characters and the emotional dynamics where, you have this mother who kind of like sort of fell into parenthood because she couldn't really figure out what else to do. And it just seemed like good enough at the time. And she's realizing that like, not only does she not really love one of her kids, but she's terrified of him. And of course, because he's smart and precocious. And so he leans into that. He plays it up. And kind of like on a subconscious level, he's bizarrely trying to earn his mother's approval by being what she expects him to be, even though it's counterproductive.
She did name him Damien.
Yes. Yeah, that was again very on the nose, very on purpose. It's like I'm just gonna yes, this is about the creepy kid trope. I'm just gonna name him after the most famous creepy kid. Here we go.
Yeah.
Off to the races.
Anything else?
I guess one big question, and this is just a haunted house question in general. And you mentioned you played around with the tropes a lot. Do flawed people find haunted houses, or are we all flawed and the haunted house just discovers it?
That's a good question. So I do think we are all flawed, and that we, any situation, like any horror situation, whether it's a haunted house or not, is going to exacerbate those flaws and make them more evident, but also our strengths as well. So, but I also think generally in horror, there is, especially with something like trauma, right? How many horror stories involve a family that suffered a tragedy that moves to a new house and then spooky things happen, right? And so I think that it's a way to explore trauma and what it does to people in that respect. More from a an angle that's more fun and consumable than say something like that movie Ordinary People, for example, that's just, about the relationships.
Did you say there was a TV series in the works?
Yeah, it's in development, so who knows if it'll get made, but
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
yeah.
But yeah, I've gotten to read the pitch, and the pitch is amazing. It really nails everything about the book, every aspect of the book, while expanding on certain things in a really neat way. So I couldn't be more thrilled with it.
Well, the book definitely seems tailor-made for a project like that.
Oh, thank you.
I really like doppelganger stories, and I don't want to give spoilers for those out there who, we're introducing this book to them and they want to read it, uh, based on this conversation. But in this one, going from memory here, but she starts to, and I like this too, when in horror movies, when uh, you're looking in the mirror and your reflection starts doing something different,
Oh
which
God,
I think is
yeah.
just freaking, very uncanny and very creepy. So
Yeah,
I
that
just,
scares the hell
yeah.
out of me.
Is that where this story came from? Where you look in the mirror one day and you thought your reflection did something different, or
I
somewhere
mean,
else?
not necessarily. I did have a doppelganger that was ruining my life at one point.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I found out because one night I went to this bar that I hadn't been to in a couple weeks,
Yeah.
and the bartender refused to serve me. And I was like, I'm sorry, what,
Wow.
like, what's wrong? And he's like, I told you you weren't welcome here anymore. I'm like, dude, I haven't been here in forever, and I don't think I've even seen you before. And he's like, you were here last night acting like an asshole. I'm over it. Like, you're not welcome here anymore. And I
Wow.
was like, that was not me. And he's like, yeah, fuck you, whatever, that was you. And so that's how I was like, that was really weird. Maybe that guy was insane. But over the course of the next year or two, I had a bunch of people, random people on the street, come up to me thinking I was this other guy.
Well, the
So
thing is,
it's weird.
there are only so many combinations of body and faces. We've all got someone similar to us out there somewhere, but to be in the same town
Yeah.
is astronomically high odds, you know?
Yeah, and we had a couple things in common, and this was a relatively small beach town, and everyone knew everyone else for the most part. And so like I just kept like wondering, like, am I gonna run into this guy? I never did that I know of. I might have walked past him and he just didn't look like my doppelganger to me. And maybe we just look like doppelgangers to other people, but it was really strange. But yeah, it went on for like probably like 2 years or something like that.
Wow.
The bar thing was the only time it was actually ruining my life, so I was a little over dramatic when I said that. But it was kind of weird when people would come up to me, and the guy's name was also Brian, apparently.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
and not just to have a doppelganger in the same town, like I said, but also, the bartender or someone didn't come up to you and say, "Hey, thanks for what you said last night. That was just a really nice thing to say or do, whatever." No, the guy had to be a dick, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was it
Wow.
was it was really strange. I don't know. So, doppelganger, if you're out there, I just want to say for the record, fuck you. This is my face, my body. You can't have them.
Alan or anyone, you guys got some more questions before I go ahead?
Oh, go ahead.
You're good.
I'm good. Yeah. I'm good.
Uh, I was just curious about the transition from, self-publishing, indie publishing to Blackstone, and tell me about the difference there, and the
Yeah.
challenges that you went through, and the pluses and the minuses, I guess I'd say. A lot of writers watch the show as well or listen to the show. So,
Okay, cool. I'd say for me, it was all pluses. So it was always my intention to publish with a at least mid-sized publisher. So that, doing the self-publishing thing, I never really intended to be a self-published writer until 2020 hit, and then all bets were off. Right. So I always
right.
wanted to, get to here. So it's great working with Blackstone, having a whole team of people who are invested in the success of your book, from, copy and line edits, to like the team that puts together the audio book, to the cover art, layouts, etc., marketing, publicity, everyone. Like they're just all great to work with. So yeah, I think on the only sort of like, and I'm not even gonna say it's a negative, but like it's just obvious that when you're self-publishing, you have total creative freedom. And
Right.
then when
Yeah.
you're, when you're working with a publisher, you I want to be clear that Blackstone gives me an enormous amount of creative freedom, and essentially any editorial discussion we've ever had has always essentially come down to, well, it's your book, so which is
Yep.
great, you know. But it's been good getting some of that additional feedback and thinking through like, okay, how could this idea work, right? Instead of just being, sort of just doing my thing and paying for a line edit and that was that.
Well, and but also, marketing is such a huge part of anything. Uh, Writing is a small business
Yeah,
until hopefully for some people it transitions into a larger business. But there's only so many hours in the day,
yeah,
and whatever creative endeavor that you're involved with, like uh, the people who emailed me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in taking a look at this book?" One guy, it's hard to get all that done.
yeah.
So, you
Yeah,
know,
exactly. And just having like a team taking my book out to trade shows, for example, is pretty huge. They were at New York Comic Con last week. Actually, they said
oh wow,
by the morning of the third day, Saturday, the book had sold out at their booth, which is amazing. And it's just, they've got such reach with distribution and everything like that. And the other thing is, I never would have done an audiobook on my own.
yeah,
If I was still self-publishing, and now Good Dogs and Man Fuck This House both have amazing audio productions. And that helps get the book to like different readers. Like not everyone really has the time to read print books. And the audiobook revolution has been awesome in that respect.
yeah. I love audiobooks, print as well, obviously, but I love audiobooks. I I've published several books and only did an audiobook once, and it turned out great. The guy I hired
Yeah.
did a wonderful job. I mean, way better than I could have dreamed. But yeah, it was so much work. Man, it was a lot of work.
I can imagine. So that's why I'm glad like that Jesse, the producer at Blackstone, will hit me up and say, do you have anyone you have in mind for any particular section or anything like that. Like with Good Dogs, there's three different sort of sections. There's a prologue and epilogue, the main narrative, and then there are a couple flashbacks. And the flashbacks are actually this was super fun. The flashbacks are written in the voice of the time period. So I have a flashback set in the 80s that's like, talking about heavy metal man and blah, 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 like that. And then I have one set in like the 50s that's all like freaking cherry poppin' daddies. And then one in the 30s that's like, see, blah, blah, blah. So it was fun doing that. And so having like these different voices for my books, then they pair different narrators with each one is
Yeah, I was
really
gonna ask,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
that one had
so
three different narrators for that one,
three
Good
different
Dogs.
narrators for that one,
Okay.
yeah. And then for Man Like This House, there are seven, I think. So yeah, they did Zura Johnson did the main story, and then they picked like a total dream team of folks for the rest of the stories, including Joe Hempel and Ray Porter, and
Oh,
and
he's
a number of
great.
other folks. So it was really really awesome just seeing this like super cool production come together.
Yeah. Man, Ray Porter's speaking of Zack Snyder, Ray Porter's done an awful lot since, he became Darkseid
Yeah.
for the Zack
Yeah.
Snyder Justice League.
Yeah, which
Really
is
hit the
really
big time
awesome
then.
for him. Yeah.
So
And he's also doing Waiting for Godot in Portland apparently right now.
oh really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Uh the what do I want to ask? Oh, what were your influences growing up? And
Hmm.
how did you get into horror to begin with?
Yeah. So as a kid, I will say I loved horror, but I was also terrified of it. At the same time, I was like a really easily scared kid. And it's weird, but I think a lot of horror folks I talked to were actually like that, where we were big scaredy cats. And then we
Yeah.
got into horror like gradually, and then, we found it to be like helpful to explore our fears. So I remember when I was 5, I saw Killer Clowns from Outer Space for the first time at a friend's
Mhm.
house, and that scared the hell out of me. I thought I was never going to sleep again. So it was like, that was the first like horror movie I really saw. And then I used to always love the Halloween specials. Garfield's Halloween Adventure is one of my favorite things ever. Like it was actually a big influence on me as a writer because it's kind of neat because they give you kind of a primer on different kinds of horror like throughout the special. It's kind of neat. And so there was that Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I used to read those at the library because if my parents saw me bringing the books home, I think I had a couple at home, but like I just remember like I would not sleep at night. And then like it wasn't so much the content of the books as the fact that like I was up and they're like, You need to stop scaring yourself, stop reading this stuff." So that was
Yeah,
sort
you're
of
not
my
getting enough
pathway into
sleep.
horror. And then Goosebumps, and other, Christopher Pike and R.L. Stine books really got me into it too. And I read a lot of like mystery stuff too, like
Yeah.
the Three Investigators and
Oh
the
my
Hardy
gosh.
Boys and stuff like
Three
that. And then
Investigators. A lot of people have heard of the Hardy Boys. Not a lot of people these days have heard of the Three Investigators.
yeah, they were the California branch of the Teen Sleuths, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. So
The
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 yeah
Ro
the
the Rocky Beach,
yeah
and living with Jupiter Jones lived with his aunt and uncle who owned this junkyard. And then
yeah
what I loved about it was their hideout. I loved it all, but their hideout in the junkyard, hidden away from
yeah
everyone. Even his aunt and uncle don't remember that this trailer's there. That's their headquarters. So
yeah
anyway,
Yeah, that
yeah,
was the books like that, kind of like the crime and mystery type stuff, like which I consider crime and mystery and horror all kind of be part of the same swirling miasma of cool stuff.
yeah.
So, and then the other thing was I remember going to visit my grandparents when I was a kid, and my grandmother had actually founded this fun fact. My grandmother was the founder of the library in their town,
Oh wow,
which is pretty cool. And she
yeah.
actually founded a second library at her retirement home in the last years of her life as well. So, lady loved starting libraries. It was great. But she took me to the library, and I remember getting these like picture books about Universal horror. And that was another thing that totally got me into it. And I remember we got home and it was raining. There was a crazy thunderstorm going on. It was raining so hard. I was reading the Dracula book, and I started wondering if, like, it's still during the day, but can he come out in this thunderstorm? And is he going to come get me right now?
The answer is yes, he can come out in the
Yes.
thunderstorm.
Yes, exactly. Those are some of my early memories. Oh my God. Speaking of, I forgot about this one, but when I remember staying in line at the IGA with my grandmother, and there was like a little, like one of those little pamphlet, almost a pamphlet about like true crime, like unsolved mystery type stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, "Ooh, can I have this?" And because my parents and grandparents' rule with me was generally like, "You can have any book you want," because I was a very precocious reader. I was reading at a very high level when I was like 5. So, and they just never really, they always thought all books were good and let me
Yeah.
read basically anything. And so my grandmother got it for me. And I remember going home and laying on the carpet in the living room reading. And that was how I found out about all the horrible things that were done to the Black Dahlia, which still stick in my head to this day, you know? And I just remember feeling so like squeamish and like, but like, also, and the Axeman of New Orleans, that was the other one that was in there, and that stuff like totally freaked me out. But at the same time, I kept coming back to it. I actually
What you
wrote
said
a I
about
wrote an epic novel about the Black Dahlia. It's like almost 300,000 words, and hope to do something with that one day.
oh cool. I was thinking what you said a few minutes ago about loving mysteries and horror.
Yeah,
In not every horror story, but it seems to me a very, very high percentage of them, there's a mystery involved too.
yeah,
What is going on here? You know, uh, so um, yeah,
yeah.
um,
I think especially in the slasher genre, where it's like
yeah.
the only real difference between a whodunit and a slasher is that in slasher the kills are more flamboyant, at least. And there is a bit more of a formula of the slasher, but it's still about like who is doing these killings and why.
So it's interesting to me to ask horror people this. Do you personally believe in the supernatural?
No,
Yeah,
no. I've had some weird experiences though, so I would say I'm more agnostic when it
yeah,
comes to supernatural stuff, right? But I think the human mind is loves to do weird stuff to us. And so, and again,
Yeah,
it's one of those things too with all the 3 million ghost hunter shows on TV. You think they would have captured something pretty definitive by now if it was
you'd
out
think
there, right?
so. And with everybody's got a movie camcorder, they've got a camcorder and a camera in their pocket these days. You'd think we would have seen better resolution pictures of UFOs. So,
Yeah, you,
but we
you would
haven't.
you would think so. And I think I'm like Mulder in a way. Like I want to believe. Like I think the idea of Bigfoot is amazing. I think there's pretty much no percentage Bigfoot exists because we would have found bodies by now.
Yeah.
You know, we would have found corpses. But I think it would be cool if Bigfoot did exist. I think it'd be cool if Mothman did exist.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on all this stuff, but it is obviously very fascinating to us horror people for
Yeah,
whatever reason. So,
yeah, absolutely.
what about contemporary writers? Who have you read lately, or what books have you read lately? What do you like to read these days?
Yeah, so I read a lot of horror, obviously, and I read a lot of stuff for blurbs. So
Hmm.
I just read a really neat book by a writer named Natalie Pinter called A Wasp for a Fig, and it's a unique twist on folk horror. It's like folk horror, but with like sort of like Greek and Roman mythology inspired at the same time. That was really cool. Philip Fracasse's Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre, just read that. I really love that book.
Yeah, Phil's a
Going
great
into it, I
writer.
was like, oh, this is kind of a cool idea, but it became something like way beyond what I could have imagined. Um, and let's see, right now I'm reading Christina Henry's The Place Where They Buried Your Heart. I'm doing an event in New Orleans with her in early November, as well as doing a panel with her at the Louisiana Book Festival, which will be really cool. So reading those, and then I got a couple of series I've been trying to work my way through this year. I've read the first couple Dungeon Crawler Carl books by Matt Dinneman, and that's one of those things where I saw it becoming popular, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Then I read the first one, and I'm like, my God, this is actually everything it's cracked up to be. You know, like I can be a little bit of a hipster sometimes, where when something's really popular, I'm like, it's really popular, but is it really that good? And I read these, and I'm like, my God, yeah, this is amazing. So I'm reading those, and then I'm reading Jonathan Mayberry's Joe Ledger books because he's next year in his new one. He said he's going to reveal the identity of like a longstanding character in the series, who they really are. And so I was like, well, I should probably just catch up on the 14 books in the series. So I'm a couple books into those, and so I've been sort of like dipping in and out of the various series while reading standalone books for either blurbs or because they look really cool. And then I have way too many books to read. Like behind me here, I have like 3 shelves of TBR right here,
Oh,
and
we
that
all
is
here feel your
just the
pain.
beginning.
Yeah, yeah, believe me, we know.
Yeah,
Um, the yeah, I just noticed yesterday online that uh, Jonathan has I guess it's the second book. I've not read either of these yet, but kind of a space Lovecraftian cosmic horror
Necrotech.
series. Necrotech. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
I actually just
Cold
did an
War, I think
event
it's
with
called.
him
Yeah,
last week
yeah.
for because Necrotech. So my book's with Blackstone. Necrotech is also with Blackstone,
Oh, okay.
and then we also just know each other, and so we teamed up for an event at Artifact Books in Encinitas, which was super awesome. But yeah, I read the first book in that series. It's really cool. I described it as kind of like spooky Voltron.
Hmm.
So if you love giant robots and tentacle monsters and ghosts and just everything like kind of thrown into this blender, like it's a little Warhammery, Warhammer 40K a little bit too, a lot of Lovecraft. So it's definitely a great series.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Um, what do you got going on next that you can talk about?
So I can't unfortunately I can't quite talk about what's going on next yet. So we are in the final stages of figuring out the next book deal. And so that will hopefully be announced soonish. But like I said, the title itself is going to be a state secret for quite a while, unfortunately. And we'll find out. I've been jokingly referring to it on Facebook as the ghost who said boo. Because I keep doing this bit where and by the way, I just had a post today on Facebook where I actually telling everyone it is 100% real. But I like the idea of writing a completely terrifying novel that's completely serious, but calling it something silly like The Ghost Who Said Boo. So That's my working title for this one, but really excited about that. Hopefully we get some news on the film front. And then I have a number of short stories coming out as well. I don't think the TOCs have been announced yet. But I did have one recently in Dread Coast, which is a charity anthology for wildfire relief here in Southern California. So if your readers want to go check that out, it's online on Amazon and all over the place. It's called Dread Coast,
Okay.
and it's got myself, Mayberry, Peter Kleins, Luke Dumas, and a number of other people who are all local to the area. And all the
Peter
proceeds go to
Klein's,
charity.
he's so talented and he's such a great guy. He's going to be
Yeah.
on next month. I forget
Oh,
which
nice.
day,
Oh,
but
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah,
great.
yeah. He's a really good guy. Okay, so any other questions? Is there anything you want to talk about that maybe I didn't think to ask, Brian?
Oh, let's see. No, I think we went over it pretty well. I will say for your listeners, some of the other stories in the book are, I think they will find them really fascinating. There is one in particular I wanted to mention real quick though, because this one we're also having talks about a potential TV series, but I like to describe it as The Shield meets Supernatural. So it's about an elite group of corrupt cops who run into like a supernatural killer and are trying to stop them. So, and it's kind of got serious potential in that, like, what if criminals are using various like arcane artifacts and things to commit murders and all
Yeah,
that. So, yeah, that story was a lot of fun to write because I love, like we were talking about crime and mystery, and I love writing crime. Actually, the novel that got me my agent was actually a crime novel. It's still unpublished, but I would love to do more crime stuff. And so this way, this kind of like crime horror blend, I thought, I was like, this is a neat way to like, get a little crime stuff out there. So yeah,
you have a favorite crime series? I've been reading for decades the Lawrence Block Matthew Scudder series. I really love
yeah,
that one. So, and many
nice,
others, but that's my favorite. So,
nice. Yeah, if I had to pick one, I'd say, and this is actually horror adjacent, but John Connolly's Charlie Parker books.
oh God, I love those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're fantastic. And I'm sorry, not even horror adjacent. They're explicitly horror in some of them, frankly.
yeah,
But yeah, I love those. And then Michael Connolly's various series. Like I'm just any new Connolly book comes out, I'm right there.
yeah, yeah. The John Connolly with those Charlie Parker books, he builds up such a realistic world
Yeah.
that when the supernatural is introduced, it's so much more believable,
Yeah,
in that
absolutely. I
sense.
like I love too how the first couple books in the series just have kind of like hints at it, but it's all
Right,
explainable. Like the villain in the first one is like kind of talks like he's a fallen angel, but like, oh no, he's just a crazy person. And then,
right.
as the books go along, it's like he's warming up the pot of stew, and you're like, oh, it's getting, I didn't realize how hot it's getting in here because, all of a sudden by the time he takes you into explicit territory, you're right. He's like earned it. He's really built it up. So
Yeah, that's a really good description of that series. He just slowly he builds it up masterfully,
yeah, yeah. And
the
he's
element
such
of the
a
paranormal.
fantastic writer. I love his books of short stories. I remember I first
Oh
I
my
first
gosh,
I
yeah.
first discovered him because of his book Nocturnes. I just thought the
Nocturnes,
cover,
yeah, I've got
yeah,
that one. I
yeah,
love
like
that
20
book.
years ago. I remember seeing the book in a bookstore, and I was like, that cover is so pretty. I just grabbed it, not knowing anything else about him, and that was my introduction to his work. And I loved how he kind of in that volume he had like a lot of very sort of traditional English ghost story type things, except like updated. Or actually,
Yeah.
sorry, John, traditional Irish ghost stories, but updated, for a more modern sensibility, and I thought it was really, really neat. Like the kind of stories you could sit around a fire telling.
Yeah, I've talked about that book so much. Pete buys and sells books. He's a book collector, and
Oh,
he sent
nice.
me a
Yeah,
collector's edition of it. So yeah,
Connolly's great. The Nocturnes is great. The new daughter is
the new
is
daughter.
Yeah,
it's actually a pretty decent film too.
It is. Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
New Daughter was great. Then in that volume, he has a Charlie Parker novella in in
Hmm.
that one as well. And that's what got me into. I read that one. And I was immediately like, I need to read all these Charlie Parker books.
That
and
was the
he's
first one you read. Yeah.
Yeah, was the novella, and just the character of the Collector, I immediately fell like deeply in love with. I'm like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah. What, Pete? Sorry.
He's actually a really nice guy. He did a reading in Orlando, and we went up to see him a
Oh,
couple
very
years
cool.
ago. And like there were like 15 people at the reading. It was so we had
That
to
happens at readings sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we got to sit down and talk to him for like an hour and a half and just drink wine and shoot the shit. Nice guy.
Yeah,
Well,
he had a, oh my God, in one, I forget in which one of his books, I think it's the sequel to Nocturnes. He has like a postscript where he talks about someone that he met at a reading, and it turns into like a ghost story that he is experiencing himself. It's so good. God, that just
yeah,
reminded me of
he's masterful. Well, anyway, guys, pick this up. Man, Fuck This House by Brian Asman. Am I saying your last name right?
that. Yeah, Asman, yeah.
Asman. Okay.
Yep,
And
perfect.
pick up Good Dogs too. So I'm
Oh
going
yeah.
to. So
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for so much for
thank
having me
you.
on. This has been great getting to chat.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So good to see you, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Awesome. I would love to. Yeah, we'll
All
figure
right.
something out.
Thanks,
Cool.
Brian.
Thanks, guys. Happy
Uh,
Thanks.
Sunday.
Matt, you want to talk about movie night briefly,
oh,
real
sure,
quick?
a little bit. You know, we do different things. Like, for example, we'll show a feature film that's 90 to a little minutes to over 2 hours, or we might show 2 episodes of a series, like when we were watching From season 2. Sometimes, though, we have movies that are only an hour long, and that just doesn't seem to fill up a night, so we'll show two 1 hour segments. So I wanted to show Werewolf by Night by Marvel because I had heard it was good. I'd never seen it. It's Halloween season. And for a second choice, I had asked for suggestions, and someone mentioned the season 2 episode from X-Files Home. Do you all remember that one?
Oh yeah.
It's about the deformed
God.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
No one who has seen that forgets that
Isn't that
episode.
episode banned?
Yeah, in some
now I'm
places, right?
looking at it, it's like, the okay, so um, both of these shows were not terrible. They're fine. Give them a watch. Like X-Files has not aged particularly well in this instance because the described science was absolute horseshit. I mean, I could barely. What the fuck?
That's not how you feel, man.
It's
Yeah.
just they're talking complete nonsense. And then the big reveal is that they're all deformed of all these mutations, and they do old hillbilly shit. And like, by now we've seen so many movies and shows like this. It's if you hadn't seen it and been freaked out then, today it's just like it's okay. It's
Yeah.
entertaining enough if you're watching it, but it's not like a okay. So when Exorcist came out, and I was 14, I think, I was not allowed in the theater because the girl taking tickets, her manager was standing right beside there when I was trying to convince her I should get a ticket. All right. So I had to wait till I went to college. And when I watched it, it's like,
Eh,
this show's
Right.
weak. It's pretty stupid. It's not scary. Why are people vomiting? This is dumb. Okay. It's kind of like that.
and
Well,
there's still people who feel that way, that it's the pinnacle of horror.
everyone's it's all subjective mostly, right? It's just for me if I'd seen it when I was 14, I might have great memories of it. Having seen it when I was 21, it's like, bleh. All right. Well, the show Werewolf by Night is entertaining. It's a Marvel movie.
Right.
So they have like um well, it's a fine werewolf show. It doesn't really cover what I remember from issue number 1 of Werewolf by Night, how he got turned into a werewolf.
Right.
So like he's an established werewolf by now, and it's like it's not exactly like there's even some big reveal about it. But
It's a
it's
little too
entertaining.
it's a
It's
little
well
too
shot.
rooted in it's a little too rooted in Marvel lore. The Bloodstone,
Yeah.
Right. I didn't even know what the hell. I just said, okay, whatever. This is
Ray
the guy.
McGuffney.
He's
Okay.
a super obscure character.
But okay, I knew it because I actually had the first 10 issues before I gave them to my little brother. Um, Anyway, for me, the best parts. Well, actually, the best part was the last 3 minutes when the werewolf is chatting with Swamp Thing. Now that was just fun, charming entertainment.
Man Thing, but yes.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was Man Thing. I thought it was Swamp Thing.
Something is DC.
Ah,
Man
Yeah,
Thing was
God,
Marvel.
Matt.
Oddly enough, created at the same time by two people who lived together.
Yes. And they thought, and they got away. They didn't think they'd get away with it.
Yeah.
well, so I think if you want to watch an okay werewolf movie, Werewolf by Night is fine. It's not scary whatsoever. The fighting's a little ridiculous when there's this 90-pound woman throwing around huge ape-like men. I mean, come on, that's never really going to happen. But it's a Marvel movie, so it's going to happen. But it was fine. But it just wasn't great. You know,
No, it's no Wolf of Snow Hollow, I'll tell you that.
no, or like The Wolfman, which I still want to watch.
Yeah,
I just rewatched The Wolf of Snow Hollow.
that's a great movie. I like it.
Good
And
movie.
it's
Huh?
it's a damn good movie.
It's a damn good movie, and it's a really, really funny movie trailer.
Yeah.
You know,
I also like
it-
Werewolves Within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also a good funny werewolf movie that worked really, really well.
Okay,
The- the funniest line in that movie is, I forget the actor's name. That was his last movie that he did, the sheriff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, we've
Like
never seen this
Porter.
before. I'm not going to ask you to pray with me because of the goddamn lawyers.
what happened to him?
He died.
Robert Forster. He died.
He died. He died.
Didn't know that. He was young, wasn't he?
No,
Oh.
Not the
no, his
person
dad,
who
the
played
guy's dad in the movie.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I forget his
Anyway, so next week is the Saturday before Halloween.
You're gonna show Saturday the 14th?
What's that?
You're gonna show Saturday the 14th?
No, I'm going to show Trick or Treat because
Oh,
I've never
nice.
seen it.
No, that's a great movie. I like
It's
it.
a fun movie. Even people who saw it might want to watch it again. So just keep your eyes on the eZine website on Facebook and watch for info.
Have
Yeah.
you ever seen Saturday the 14th?
I didn't even know.
And,
I thought you
and
meant
I
the show.
never will.
It is horrifically bad.
It's got Richard Benjamin, right?
Yeah, Richard Benjamin. I think before he made Love at First Bite.
Did we what was that silly ass movie we watched on DeBronzo's insistence about the
Your first
monster that
mistake.
looked like a Yeti crossed with a hamster or something?
Yeah. Yes, like the terror of the snow beast or something like that.
Okay, is it that bad?
No, it's worse.
Oh my god.
It's worse. It's absolutely worst. Worse.
That's
Like the
Well,
They're
we're
catch
not funny.
is you may think that Friday the 13th is bad, but Saturday the 14th is worse.
Well, we're going to talk to Dave for a little bit, but before I forget to say, speaking of Halloween, next Sunday is the annual Lovecraft eZine Halloween episode. So we'll have the Thomas brothers here as usual, and you guys let me know if you're coming or not. So
I gotta go, but I have a question
Yeah.
for everybody out there. If you were to go to London and Edinburgh, what would you actually go to see? I don't want to see like the Jack the Ripper tour. I'm more interested in like really obscure things.
I
Like
thought you didn't like to travel.
shh.
Okay.
Pete, it's not obscure. But I think Kew Gardens
Oh
has,
yeah.
has a poisoned herb section.
I was looking like I would love to like to tour one of the Lost Rivers.
Sure. No, I don't know anything. I mean, I can maybe show you.
But not just you guys. I'm like talking to everybody out there. If you're friends with me on Facebook, drop me a line. Tell me what you would really do. But I would like to do really obscure horror things, that would creep people out. Because I would love to do stuff like that. But anyway, Phil, drop me a line, send me a message. Tell me what weird thing you would do if you were going to London or Edinburgh.
All right. Peter Relic, everyone. Tip your waitress.
Thank you. Good night, guys.
Night,
Nice,
buddy.
but I gotta go cook.
Hey, Dave. How are you?
Hello, doing good.
So Dave, you were on in February. For those who don't remember, you had a story in, I'm blanking on the title of the
And one day we
anthology.
will die.
Right,
For a
right,
collection of stories inspired by Neutral Milk Hotel.
exactly. And so you've got a book out that's been out for a few months now.
Yep.
But yeah, for those out there who maybe don't know who you are, could you introduce yourself first? Then we'll talk about the book for a bit.
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Dave D. Matthew Urban, a weird horror writer based in New York, although I grew up in Texas. And yeah, earlier this year published my first collection of stories, Shaky Pictures of Vanished Faces, out from Cursed Morsels. Um, and yeah, that's kind of it. I'm a short story writer.
Um, just blanked on what I was going to ask. Uh, so talk about the collection a little bit. There's body horror. Um, well, I guess I don't want to give away. I did notice that the covers, Trevor Henderson did the cover.
Yeah, he did a great job. We were really lucky to work with Trevor.
Yeah, he's
And
a nice
yeah,
guy.
for sure.
Um, I have my list of questions here for you.
And just say one other thing about the cover. I think it really captures kind of one of the both kind of a recurring scene in the book where people's faces look differently than they should, and also just kind of the mood of like getting a glimpse of something you're not quite sure, doesn't quite make sense, doesn't quite look like anything, but it's something horrifying. So I think the cover really did a great job of kind of capturing the overall atmosphere of the book, I think.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I'm always looking for in horror, is what you just said. Is that what I think it is, that kind of feeling in a story or in a movie or a TV series. Um,
Yeah. While you're looking, I just want to say thank you for tipping me off about the light blue shirt versus black shirt dynamic on this
oh, you're welcome.
call. We're even two light blue versus two black. Had the
Yeah,
light blue advantage for a minute there, but now we're back to being even.
yeah. Sorry, I've had quite the week.
No worries.
Um,
Did you take the picture of your background? Was that something that a story to tell us?
I've just used this background for a while. I don't remember what the original
Okay.
impetus to get the raccoons was, but it just felt
uh-huh.
like it felt nice to, you know, I'm not alone on this call. I've got my crew, raccoons backing me up. We're got some support.
No, I know I was going to ask you. It's just kind of funny, but I sent Dave an email earlier today, asked him for a headshot, and he sent me a very shaky.
Oh yeah.
Um, that's your official headshot now. Is that right?
That's the one I've got on my website. Yeah, it's just a
Temporarily.
low light picture taken with a iPhone where it took a while for the image to be captured. So I just moved my head during the shot. Yeah, I don't have a like a professional headshot or anything like that. So I just went with the weird looking one that was that I thought was kind of memorable. But yeah.
Well, I found my list of stories. Sorry about that. The Consultant's Hand. It's the first one in the collection, but I found it particularly fascinating. Where did that come from?
So that was from originally published in an anthology, also published by Cursed Morsels Press, called Bitter Apples, which was a collection of stories, horror stories about teaching by people who've worked as teachers. And I, at one point, was an adjunct teaching English literature at City College, New York, and um, kind of experienced, I guess I would say, compared to like where I went to grad school, City College of New York had, much less resources. It was much more of like it was much more constrained, and I just kind of had that. Was drawing on that experience of trying to teach and do right by the students in a situation where the resources available were pretty limited, and felt like they were getting less and less. Like, I feel like public education is one of the things that goes on the chopping block pretty quickly. And also kind of drawing on the experience of burnout that I was definitely going through when I was teaching. And the reason why I'm not in academia as a long-term thing, but so just feeling like very very kind of burned out and disillusioned with what it was actually like to to kind of be in the trenches of education, and then kind of taking the concept of what's the end point of like the worst that it could get in terms of like reducing resources and reducing just the spirit of people who are
Oh,
who
you
are
don't
trying
want to
to
ask those
educate.
kinds of questions.
Yeah, that'll lead to a bad place. And so
Yeah.
the story kind of came out of that idea.
Well, there's if you're a Kindle person, I believe this is available for $4.99 on Kindle, and there are 18 stories in this book. You're really getting your money's worth, and that's a lot of stories, and they're really great stories too. And it seemed to me
Thanks.
while reading them that you can tell me if I'm reading in something that's not there, but so many of them seem to be in one way or another about identity. Do you
Yeah.
Is that what you were going for, or am I off base? Or
No, I think that's totally on base. I think that wasn't necessarily what I was thinking of as a guiding thread when I was writing the stories, but like when I came to put them together as a collection, I think that was something that
oh, I see.
I found as a thread between all the stories, a sense of like, do you really know who you are? What could change in your life to reveal that you might not be the person you thought you were, or what could come in, from outside to kind of confront you and turn you into something else. And I think, that the title Shaky Pictures of Vanished Faces kind of gets at that this sense of like your identity dissolving or changing into something that you didn't think was inside you. So that's definitely something that I realized after the fact that I'd been going back to again and again in these stories.
Do you have a favorite story from this collection of 18?
I think my favorite, it kind of changes around a little bit. I think my favorite at the moment is the German cousin, the one that the last story in the collection. Um, I feel like in that one, there's a bunch of different types of stories. I feel like in this collection, it's pretty various in terms of style and approach. But one type of story that I really love to read and that I liked, I took a couple of stabs at writing, is a story that really just feels like you're in a nightmare, like that it's just getting, you're in a situation that you don't understand or know the way out of, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. And that story, the German cousin, is the one where I felt like I was able to convey that sense of just like being trapped in a really hellish, nightmarish situation that you don't understand. And so I think that's the one that I would name as my favorite.
It's also pretty hard to talk about without spoilers,
Yeah.
because the payoff is so great. And
Well, thanks.
yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything I can say about the
Yeah.
German cousin really
Yeah.
at all. I don't think there
Yeah.
is. I
It's tough.
really
I
love.
can. Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go.
I was
You
I was gonna
you're the
say, I guess
guest.
one like thing that I thought about that story is one thing that kind of I like about it is it starts with something like it starts with kind of a wrong, a wrong thing that's so small. Like the narrator of the story is at the very beginning of the story, she's in her bedroom waking up for a nap, and she hears a sound in the house and doesn't know what it is. And just that sense of like, something is here, in this house, not sure what it is. It could be this, could be that. I'm going to go investigate. And kind of that sense of uncertainty expanding and kind of spiraling out until you get to the end when, as you said, it gets pretty wild at the towards the end. So one thing I like about it is just that kind of sense of escalation.
The Scott on the live chat just said he just purchased the Kindle edition.
Well, thanks,
I
Scott.
really love the title of the next to last one, How I Turned My Little Brother Human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one I like a lot too. That was one that did that kind of, like we were talking with Brian earlier about sometimes the title comes first, and that was one where the title, it wasn't exactly that title, but it was something like that, and then I wrote the story and kind of changed the title a little bit to match what the story was. But that sense of, yeah, becoming human, what does it mean? And in that story, it means something very different to the narrator than what it might mean to us. But yeah, I'm glad that title resonated.
Yeah, it's a great title. And whenever Brian said that, and whenever you said that just now about coming up with the title first, it always makes me think of years ago I interviewed Mike Flanagan about his first movie, Absentia. I don't know if you've seen that,
I haven't seen
but
that one.
I still think it's his best film, and that's saying a lot because he's a great filmmaker. But it didn't have a lot of budget, but it's just really great acting, really great story, really, really atmospheric. But I bring it up because I asked him about there's a creepy tunnel that's central to the story. And I asked him about that. And he said that he lived right near the tunnel at the time. And he thought to himself, this is such a creepy tunnel. I've got to make a movie in which this is, that has to do with this, that I got to build the story around the tunnel. The tunnel came first. So made me think of that. So,
Yeah, it's
um,
interesting, just like what little element kind of sticks in your mind and makes you want to write a story about it, whether it's a word or a title or just a scene
yeah.
or an image. Yeah.
Well, and based on reading your book here, I think you'd like Absentia. So,
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
um, what were,
Are you focusing on the short stories? Is that where you're at right now?
Yeah, I've been mainly writing short stories. I'm writing a novella now that, who knows it'll turn into, if anything. But so far I've written short stories, written some novelettes. I had a novelette published in the Split Scream series from Tenebris Press, and that's the longest thing I've had published. But yeah, hoping to up my word limit before too long.
what do you do when you're not writing for a
I'm a
living or anything else?
yeah, I work I'm a computer programmer. I work for a nonprofit here in New York.
You like doing that?
Yeah, it's a nice day job. It's like not so, it's interesting enough that I can kind of stay engaged with that, and it's not so all consuming that I don't have any brain space left. Like one thing that was, when I was
Good point.
in my previous life, when I was a teacher or in academia, that was just so, kind of all encompassing a role that I felt like I didn't really have time to do what I really wanted to do, which was, writing. So I feel like now, in my current life, I have a lot more space for that.
That's a nice balance. And it makes me think of the reverse of that. Philip K. Dick, he wrote a lot of nonfiction in the dead hours of the night too,
Yeah.
and observations on the universe. Trying to see what is it. Oh, right, yeah, here it is. The Exegesis of Philip K. Dick.
Oh yeah.
Thing is huge. Do you have this, or have you?
I haven't read it. I know or I haven't read the whole thing. I've kind of dipped into it. Um, and yeah, I mean, that's it.
Nobody's read the whole thing.
Yeah, I feel like if you read the whole thing, you go into that alternate dimension. You find you're in the Black Iron prison.
But there's
Yeah.
also the shifting realities of Philip K. Dick,
Hmm.
which is easier to get into because it's not as thick for one thing. But he talks about in one of those that I wish I could go to a job like he names a couple of writers. He's writing this in the 70s. I wish I could go to a job like this guy does and then come home and write. I can't do that. And
Yeah.
that's why I have no money and I'm looking in the couch cushions for rent. So
Yeah.
Maybe
There's
take
some
that.
people who are just like possessed with writing, and that's the only thing they can do,
Yeah.
and or the only thing that they want to do. And I'm, you know, that's both a blessing and a curse. Definitely in the case of Dick, uh, led to some, not great things for his his
Yeah.
health. Um, and yeah, I feel like, you know, lucky, I guess, that I'm able to maintain kind of,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't have to just,
interesting.
yeah. And, thank God I don't have to try to make a living like as a weird horror short story writer in this
Yeah.
current environment.
Or any, really.
Mm,
I
yeah,
mean, it's hard to do. Uh, be a writer full time. The
for sure.
or painter or any creative endeavor
Hmm.
full time. But um, that's a nice balance, is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, not so all consuming that um, you can't go home and write after the job. So
Yeah, for sure. Although it is, at the same time, of course, the dream would be, to be able to do it full time and to have, just be able to kind of devote my whole mind and time to writing. But
money's
yeah,
one thing, but health insurance is another, right?
that is a nice thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to have it.
I was going to ask, how did you get into horror? What were your influences growing up?
Yeah, I got into horror early. In elementary school, I remember reading, the first one I remember reading is the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark
Hmm.
books by Alvin Schwartz with the especially the
Well,
illustrations
you're
by
the
Stephen
second person
Gamble.
I interviewed today to mention that.
Yeah. I'm just I'm gonna repeat everything Brian said. And then I was, yeah. No, those books and especially the illustrations were so like really
Oh yeah.
captivated my imagination when I was, uh, second, third grade or whatever it was. And I remember, whenever the Scholastic Book Club book fair thing would come to my school, I would always try to find the scary story collections and like the scariest looking books and get those. Um, the thing that really kind of, I think, expanded my sense of like what horror scary writing could do was an anthology that I read like maybe when I was like 12 or 13, edited by Marvin Kay, called Masterpieces of Terror and the Supernatural, which had just it's a kind of real thick anthology with just some great like classics of, all-time classics of horror. It's got like Dracula's Guest by Bram Stoker. It's got Transformation by Mary Shelley. And then it's also got like more contemporary stuff or more recent stuff by like Richard Matheson and people like that. So
Yeah.
that was the thing that I read that I really remember like kind of blowing my mind in terms of like, it's not just that a story can be scary, but it can also, you know, expand your sense of like what the universe might contain.
Yeah,
Um,
which is, you could describe your collection that way, and
yeah,
it's
hope so.
it's it's not just the horror, it's the psychological aspect of it, too.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of horror that I've always gravitated towards most, is that sense that like what's happening outside, in the world, the scary things that are happening kind of are mirrored or reflected, or like they have a corresponding effect on the inside of the characters and the narrator, and like how they psychologically process what's going on, or that kind of um back and forth of like, is this something that's happening for real in the world, or is this something that is being projected out from the character's mind in a kind of a disturbed and a kind of a disturbance of reality that's coming from inside. So I really, yeah, that's that type of uh kind of inside outside stuff in horror is some of the stuff that I really love the most.
Did you grow up in the 80s, 90s? I'm a terrible judge of age. So,
I was born in 1980, so I grew up in kind of became conscious, I guess, in the late 80s and into the 90s. Yeah, so I was reading the first like adult horror author that I read was Dean Koontz.
mhm.
Back when he was Dean R. Koontz and had the mustache, and he had a very different aesthetic than what he looks like now. But my I
It's kind of a creepy picture. Yeah.
yeah, I like kind of discovered that randomly, or discovered his work sort of randomly, because my aunt, we had a vacation with my extended family in Galveston, and my aunt was reading Dark Fall by Dean Koontz,
Mm.
which I picked it up off of her, from where she set it down and started reading it. So I read a bunch of Dean Koontz in the 90s, read a bunch of Stephen King, Robert R. McCammon,
Oh
um,
yeah.
that era, and was really into that, and then kind of drifted away from horror for a little bit while I was, when I was in my early 20s, um, and then really got back into it um, by reading. I think actually the first one to get me back into horror was reading Lovecraft in my 20s, who I'd read
Oh
a little
really?
bit of, but kind of just, not, I think, kind of a random selection of stories that I'd read when I was younger, and kind of not necessarily the best ones.
Yeah.
Um, but then I kind of got back into him, uh, and that sort of was my gateway back into horror.
Yeah, which is so many people get into Lovecraft in their teenage years or even a little bit
Yeah,
before. Um, but yeah, I didn't really read any. I read a lot growing up, but I didn't read Lovecraft till I was in my early 20s either.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. It was definitely interesting coming, because I feel like if I had read him when I was younger, I would not have noticed, or would have kind of glossed over a lot of the things that, are, you know, the bad, the bad stuff about Lovecraft,
yeah,
kind of his repellent views on various things. But
right,
coming to it later and kind of having to reckon with, I'm really like, this imagination is really compelling, but it's also tied with, like, it's tied together with all of these, very unsavory ideas. Having to kind of wrestle with that, I think was actually sort of interesting, way to get back into, or to get into him. So it was, I never kind of, uh, you know, it was never a surprise to me to learn about, like, oh, did you know Lovecraft was a huge racist? Like, yes, I knew that from reading his stories.
right.
Um, yeah, but it was kind of, yeah, it was an interesting experience, very different, I think, from what it would have been if I'd gotten into him earlier.
So you've got someone reads your collection here and they want more. Where can they go find some more to read by you until
Yeah.
the next stuff comes out?
Yeah. So I've got stories in various places. The other book that people might check out, that's kind of half me, is the fourth split screen volume from Tenebris Press, that has a novelette that I wrote called Nonsense Words, which is sort of a dark academia slash kind of sort of folk horror, you might say, but it's kind of an academic horror story. Um, and then I've got stories in uh, various anthologies. I've got a story coming out uh, soon in Frady Cat Quarterly. Got a story coming out soon in Weird Horror, in the next edition of Weird Horror.
Oh, that's
Um,
great.
yeah, and like these are all, if people want to see my bibliography and where the various stories can be found, it's my website is dmatthewurban.com. It's got a list of all my stories on there. Um, yeah, so the the place to get the most concentrated dose of my work is the collection, but then there's little bits scattered around.
Yeah. Well, as I say, you can't go wrong buying this, guys. I mean, $4.99 for 18 stories, and they're very good. They are exactly the kind that you can't talk about too much because um, I don't know, it takes away from them a little bit. The wintry, no, that's not the one. I wanted to ask you about graceful degradation.
Mm,
And obviously, I understand a little bit more now that I know you're a computer programmer, um, where part of the story came from. But can you talk
yeah,
about that one a little bit?
sure. So that's another one that was written for an anthology from Bag of Bones Press, an anthology of horror stories set in the year 2022. And I remember reading an article sometime in that year about the Neuralink, the Elon Musk's Neuralink company, that was going to, I don't know what the status of their project is now, but they're going to do neural brain implants that
Right.
would help people in some way, that I was never quite sure what the benefit of having a brain implant was supposed to be, but I guess it was supposed to help you with cognitive function in some way or another. And just, you know, um, now kind of everyone, I think, or people know Elon Musk's thing and kind of what sort of person he is. And at the time, I feel like he was a little bit more, there's a little bit more of like a PR sheen over him, over his kind of tech projects. But I just remember reading an article about that, and also the fact that they had done experimental versions of the Neuralink on monkeys, and a bunch of the monkeys had died. And just
Oh, wow.
this is a kind of um, neurotechnology and monkey torture company that Elon Musk was running. And I just kind of had the idea of like, what would happen, again, it's sort of like, what's the worst case of like, what would happen if someone got this, in the story, it's not like, it's a fictionalized version, but I think it's pretty clear what the,
Yeah.
at least it would have been, at the time, pretty clear what the inspiration was. But what's the worst case scenario of having something in your mind that is, quote unquote, helping you think, helping your mind work, but going totally, going totally haywire. And so that was the kind of the original concept or the idea of that one. And then I just kind of went with
The
that and tried to
AI,
see what
if
could
I
happen with
remember
it.
right, the AI companion
Mm-hmm.
starts forgetting her digital limbs and
Yeah.
losing function.
Yeah. And like the kind of pattern matching processor, which, a lot of these, AI and kind of neurotech things are based around pattern matching. Like you notice, like you scan a bunch of text, notice the patterns, and then spit them back out
Yeah.
in the form of a new thing. And like, what would happen if like the pattern recognition aspect of that kind of got screwed up and started seeing patterns where they weren't there, or producing wrong results. And it can get pretty, considering how much of, perception and thought is based on, noticing similarity or noticing patterns among things, that can get pretty, uh, you know, pretty, uh, hellish, I think, if you're in a world where pattern recognition doesn't work anymore. So that was
Yeah.
kind of the idea there.
Big part of natural selection.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what have you read lately that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, I'm currently reading a couple of things that I'm really liking a lot. Collection of stories by Thomas Ha called Uncertain Suns, um, from Undertow, and um, it's weird, kind of. Not all of it is what I would is exactly horror, but it's all weird fiction, and there's a lot of like kind of a science fiction element to a lot of it. Um, but it's, yeah, stories about um, kind of people in dire circumstances. A lot of it's kind of dystopian stories, and how people cope with these um, disasters or incursions that they can't understand, or that are kind of um, that they don't know what to do about. And it's really, really just good storytelling in terms of like the character work and the thematics and the just the whole,
This
the
looks
craft
great.
element is
I
really,
just looked it
yeah,
up.
yeah,
Yeah, this
yeah. So
looks
that's
great.
it's a killer collection.
As inventive as Ray Bradbury, as unsettling as Thomas Ligotti. Wow, that's high
Yeah,
praise.
those are some, yeah. some
Is this his first book?
good comparisons. I think this is his first book. Yeah.
Wow, this looks amazing. Thanks for
Yeah.
the recommendation.
Yeah.
That's a really cool cover too.
Yeah, for sure.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
This is why I asked this question.
Yeah. Get some yet more books in the TBR pile. Not
Right.
enough stuff in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can have a million things in your TBR pile, and then you see something like this, and you're like, nope, got to get this.
Yeah. Hops to the top.
Right.
And then another book that I've been reading that I'm also really enjoying. It's very different type of book, and it's not the kind of horror that I usually read, but in this case, this is an author whose short stories I've liked a lot. So I picked this one up. It's a book called Crushing Snails by Emma E. Murray, which is more just like straight up kind of psychological, like non-supernatural horror, just of the story of a girl growing up in just extremely terrible circumstances and kind of what her experience is like, and then kind of intercut with these sort of found document type of sections where it's like people giving interviews about what she like ends up doing as a result of these terrible experiences. So it's kind of more of the, you know, um yeah, just kind of psychological realistic horror, but it's really well done, and I'm enjoying that one a lot too.
All right. Well, good to see you again, man.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for having me on the pod.
Yeah. Anything else you want to mention that I didn't maybe think to ask?
No, I think that was a good a good set of questions. Thanks.
Oh, thanks. It's shaky pictures of vanished faces.
Yep.
By D. Matthew Urban, guys. So, yeah, you can't go wrong with this one. Truly, I mean that. So yeah, thanks for doing this today. Appreciate it.
For sure. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah. Matt, you have a prize? I want to say something too. For those who don't know, I just got it in my head to do a Ray Bradbury YouTube short quote. I say every day, but most days. I've done 4 this past week. From the Halloween Tree, Something Wicked This Way Comes, October Country, and Dandelion Wine. So far, it's just I read him growing up. I've always been blown away by him, and the older I get, the more I am in love with this guy's writing and his fiction and his combination of nostalgia and horror, and he's just an amazing writer, and he fits perfectly into the Halloween season, of course. So just that's on this YouTube channel you're watching right now. So and again, like I said, the Halloween episode is a week from today, next Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, as usual. So yep, sorry Matt, go ahead.
No worries. Just in case you didn't hear it last week or whatever, Something Wicked This Way Comes, the movie from '83, is streaming on Peacock.
Yeah.
So for the first time in ages, you can watch it if you love your Ray Bradbury, because he wrote the screenplay. All right. So the prize, again, is a copy of Volume 1 of Reanimator Incorporated. You could win this graphic novel maybe if you send an email to ezineprizes@gmail.com. Put Reanimator in the subject line. It takes us 6 to 8 weeks to draw a winner. So if you're watching this a month from now, hey, don't worry, we will probably be drawing a winner closer to Christmas. You got plenty of time to get entries in. Bye-bye.
All right. Good to see you, Alan. Thanks, Dave. Good to see you again too. So, all right, guys. Everyone have a good night, and we will see you for the Halloween episode next Sunday.
Right.
Thanks. Have a good one.